There's a fruit that was once called the Queen of Fruits by royalty, yet most Americans have never tasted it. In fact, you've probably never even seen it at your local grocery store. Another was considered the fruit of longevity, revered in ancient medicine for its incredible health benefits, keeping entire civilizations strong for thousands of years. But eventually, nobody remembered this one either. These are not exotic imports that never belonged here. Some grew in American soil for centuries. Some were more common than oranges or bananas. And today, they're ghosts, hidden treasures that your grandparents might remember but you've completely forgotten. In this video, we're sharing 10 fruits grocery stores don't sell anymore. And believe me, number 3 is going to surprise you. But before we begin, here's something most people don't know. Every forgotten fruit we're going to talk about today could actually be growing right in your own backyard. So, let's get started. Number 1. American persimmons. If you've ever tried a persimmon from the grocery store, you probably tasted the Asian variety Fuyu or Hachia persimmons, now commercially grown in California. They're neat, predictable, and easy to eat. But American persimmons are completely different persimmon that's been growing wild across America for thousands of years, surviving without orchards or labels. They are smaller than their Asian cousins, usually about the size of a golf ball, with smooth yellow-orange skin and a round to slightly squat shape that hints at the sweetness inside. Pick one too early, and you'll regret it. Unripe persimmons contain so much tannin that biting into one feels like your mouth is filled with invisible cotton. Your tongue goes fuzzy, your saliva disappears, that chalky dryness lingers. It's nature's way of saying, not yet. But timing changes everything. Wait until the first frost, or until the fruit becomes so soft it nearly falls into your hand. That's when the transformation happens. Ripe American persimmons taste like honey, dates, and apricots blended together. The flesh turns custard-like and pudding-thick, bursting with natural sweetness that rivals dessert. The same fruit that punished you weeks earlier now feels indulgent. Native American tribes understood this perfectly. They waited until late fall, after the frost, then gathered fallen persimmons from the forest floor. They mashed the fruit into flat cakes, dried them, and stored them for winter. These persimmon cakes delivered concentrated energy when fresh food was scarce, a survival strategy built on patience and timing. Early settlers followed that lead, and in the South, a food tradition formed around American persimmons. Persimmon pudding became a staple dessert, dense and spicy like gingerbread, but naturally sweetened by the fruit. Persimmon bread, cookies, and even beer used wild fruit that anyone could forage from the woods. What grew untended in the forest ended up on the table. The trees themselves are resilient. They grow from Texas to Connecticut, thriving in poor soil, tolerating drought, and producing reliable crops even when neglected. For homesteaders and gardeners looking for low-maintenance fruit, American persimmons are nearly foolproof. Plant them and wait for harvest. The only real challenge is timing. Pick them too early and you'll hate them. Wait too long and they've fallen and spoiled. But catch them in that perfect window, soft and frost-kissed, and you'll understand why Native Americans and early settlers considered them essential. Number 2. Pawpaw. Most of you have never heard about this fruit, yet it grows naturally in 26 states. That's a wider native range than apples. It is green and slightly leathery, while the inside is soft and custard-like, with a yellow-orange hue. Long before, pawpaw became extremely popular among both indigenous communities and early settlers for its abundant, reliable nutrition. They relied on it not just for sustenance, but also for the vitamins and minerals it offered. Pawpaws provide more vitamin C than apples and nearly as much potassium as bananas, supporting overall health and energy. This combination of nutrients helps maintain immunity, heart health, and muscle function, especially for older adults. The taste? It is something between a banana and a mango. That's exactly why early settlers started calling it the poor man's banana. Honestly, the nickname fits. But here's the catch. The same creamy texture that makes the pawpaw so special is also what keeps it out of supermarkets. The flesh is extremely soft and bruises with the slightest pressure. Ship pawpaws across the country, and you're basically delivering boxes of mush. That's why, even though pawpaws are native to the United States, you rarely see them for sale in big grocery stores. Their ripening process is even stranger. They stay green and firm for a long time, then suddenly turn soft and custard-like almost overnight. Wait too long, and they become brown and unusable. Pick them at the perfect moment, and the flavor can outshine many tropical fruits imported from far away. In recent years, foragers and creative chefs have started paying attention again. Pawpaw ice cream has built a cult following. The fruit blends beautifully into puddings and smoothies. Some say it tastes like banana mixed with vanilla custard and a light tropical note. Others describe it as the flavor of a summer memory that feels familiar, even if you can't place it. You can still find wild pawpaw trees growing quietly from Georgia all the way up to Michigan. They produce deep purple flowers with a faint scent of decay, an unusual trick to attract the flies that pollinate them. Number 3. Mangosteen. If pawpaw's soft, custard-like flesh was a gentle surprise for early settlers, mangosteen takes sweetness to another level. Known in Southeast Asia as the mother of fruits, its thick purple rind hides neat white segments almost like garlic cloves, waiting to be discovered. The taste is where it truly sets itself apart. Bite into mangosteen and the sweetness bursts, part peach, part strawberry, with a touch of citrus to keep it lively. Early American traders who brought these fruits from Southeast Asia in the 1800s were captivated. They tried growing mangosteen in Florida and Hawaii, hoping to create the next tropical staple. But unlike pawpaw, which thrived across 26 states, mangosteen is stubborn. The trees demand perfect tropical conditions, take 7 to 10 years to bear fruit, and struggle with anything below 40 degrees. A short cold snap can kill them outright. Still, the effort has its rewards. Mangosteen is packed with vitamin C, fiber, and antioxidants called xanthones, which researchers are studying for anti-inflammatory effects. Its thick rind, once considered waste, has been used in traditional medicine for centuries. Boiled into teas, ground into powders, and believed to help digestion and skin health. Shipping and shelf life add another challenge. Unlike pawpaw, which bruises easily but can survive a few days if handled carefully, mangosteen spoils fast, going from perfect to overripe in about a week. By the time it reaches the U.S. from Thailand, it's often past its prime. A few dedicated growers in southern Florida and Hawaii manage small groves, producing limited harvests that sell for high prices in specialty markets. For everyone else, mangosteen remains a rare, almost mythical fruit, much like pawpaw was for early settlers, but with a tropical twist. Number 4. Quince. Quince has been treasured for centuries, from early colonial American homesteads to Mediterranean kitchens. Every yard often had at least one tree, sometimes several, providing a reliable source of fruit for preserves, jellies, and membrillo, a thick paste that could last through winter long before refrigeration existed. Raw quince is famously tart and astringent, but cooking transforms it into something extraordinary. The hard flesh softens into a silky, pink-orange delight, with floral, honeyed sweetness that's impossible to ignore. Colonial cooks knew this secret well, turning humble quince into jams, desserts, and aromatic simmering dishes that filled homes with scents of apple, honey, and flowers. Nutritionally, quince packs a punch. High in pectin, it sets jellies perfectly without extra thickeners. It's loaded with vitamin C, antioxidants, and fiber for gut health. Even the seeds contain compounds traditionally used for sore throats and coughs. Quince trees are surprisingly resilient. They thrive in poor soil, resist diseases that affect apples and pears, and produce reliably year after year with minimal care. It's easy to see why they were a staple in so many gardens. Over time, taste changed. Americans preferred fruits they could eat raw, and cooking fruit seemed like too much effort. Quince gradually became a pantry relic, remembered fondly in family traditions. Some pockets of quince culture survived. Greek, Turkish, and Portuguese communities maintained traditional recipes, while modern gardeners and jam makers are now rediscovering this nearly forgotten fruit, appreciating both its beautiful spring blossoms and the incredible flavor revealed through cooking. Number 5. Beach plums. Most people picture plums as neat rows of fruit in a grocery store. But along America's coastline, a wild relative has been growing for centuries, quietly harvested by indigenous communities. Beach plums survive in places that seem almost impossible for fruit to grow, wind-whipped sand dunes where salty ocean spray kills off weaker plants. Yet these hardy shrubs hold their ground from Maine down to Virginia, thriving where few others can. Native tribes didn't just notice beach plums because they were tough. They valued them for what they could become. The tart sweet fruit was cooked into sauces that brightened simple meals, preserved into jams, and even used to create a rich purple dye for clothing and crafts. What truly sets beach plums apart is their attitude toward harsh conditions. Most fruit trees demand rich soil, steady watering, and protection from storms. Beach plums lean the other way. The stronger the ocean winds and the sandier the soil, the better they seem to perform. It's almost as if rough treatment pushes them to produce even more fruit. Nutritionally, they bring more than just resilience. These small berries are packed with antioxidants and vitamin A. The flavor blends classic plum sweetness with a wild, tangy edge that grabs your attention. Straight off the bush, they're sharp and sour. Simmer them down, though, and the sugars deepen into a bold, rich taste. What's remarkable is that the knowledge hasn't vanished. In some coastal towns, people still celebrate harvest season with beach plum festivals. Number 6. Jujube. Speaking of fruits that laugh at harsh conditions, let's talk about jujubes. These are small, reddish-brown fruits that resemble elongated dates and taste like apples with a touch of honey. Chinese immigrants brought jujube trees to America in the late 1800s, planting them across California and the Southwest. What makes them stand out is their toughness. Drought doesn't slow them down. Poor soil doesn't bother them. Extreme heat? They handle it easily. Jujube trees store water and nutrients efficiently, surviving where most fruit trees would fail. Jujubes are perfect for eating straight from the tree. Leave them on the branch longer, and they dry naturally. The flesh turns chewy and intensely sweet, concentrating into a caramel-like flavor. It's almost two fruits in one. Early American farmers appreciated that flexibility. They enjoyed the fresh fruit in late summer and let the rest dry on the tree for winter. No special tools, no complicated preservation, just time and sun. Nutritionally, jujubes are impressive. They contain more vitamin C than many citrus fruits, plenty of antioxidants, and compounds long used in traditional medicine for sleep and anxiety. Modern studies are examining those same benefits more closely. Despite all this, many Americans have never tasted one. Old trees still grow in abandoned homesteads, near historic Chinatowns, or in family backyards where the tradition quietly continued. Some planted in the 1920s still produce fruit with almost no care, even surviving winters down to 0 degrees once established. Plant one tree and you can expect decades of reliable, drought-resistant fruit production, proof that this resilient tree never really needed much attention to begin with. Number 7. Elephant apple. Just like jujubes survived harsh conditions and quietly thrived in American backyards, there's another forgotten fruit that few Americans know about, the elephant apple. Native Americans used this fruit for generations, relying on it as a versatile ingredient and a source of nutrition that rarely failed. The name itself hints at something intriguing. When elephants find these fruits in the wild, they go absolutely crazy for them. That's how you know you're dealing with something special. These greenish-yellow fruits are about the size of a softball, covered in a thick, hard rind. Crack one open and the inside looks bizarre, multiple seed chambers filled with pulp that ranges from yellowish to reddish-brown. The first thing you notice is the intense sour aroma that makes your nose wrinkle. The taste? Incredibly tart, astringent when raw, definitely an acquired experience. But here's where traditional knowledge comes in. They have been cooking with elephant apple for generations. The unripe fruit is pickled, creating condiments that add sour complexity to dishes. Ripe elephant apple gets cooked down into chutneys that balance sweet and sour perfectly. The fruit contains tons of natural pectin, so these preserves set thick without adding anything extra. Traditional medicine used this fruit for digestive issues, inflammation, and even as a blood sugar regulator. It is packed with vitamin C and contains compounds that modern research is just beginning to understand. But in rural villages, this knowledge isn't new, it's just how things have always been done. In tropical and subtropical climates, elephant apple trees can thrive with minimal care. Some adventurous gardeners in southern Florida and southern California have started experimenting with them, creating small pockets of these unique fruits in U.S. soil. The catch is finding the trees in the first place. Elephant apple isn't sold in American nurseries. You'd need connections to gardening communities or international seed sources. But for gardeners looking for something truly unique, something that connects them to ancient food traditions, Elephant apple represents an interesting frontier. Number 8. Banana Yucca. While many people picture the desert as empty and lifeless, native tribes of the American Southwest saw opportunity. They had banana yucca. And this wasn't just emergency rations. It doubled as dessert. At first glance, the banana yucca plant doesn't look friendly. It's all sharp, sword-like leaves shooting out in every direction, like nature built a security system. But hidden among those spikes is the surprise. Tall stalks grow upward, carrying green pods that resemble bananas. That unusual shape is exactly how this rugged desert plant earned its name. Take a bite of raw banana yucca, though, and you'll regret it. The fruit is firm, stringy, and far from tasty. But apply heat, and everything changes. Roast it in the fire or simmer it in water, and the inside softens into a thick, sweet paste, almost like natural fruit leather. Indigenous tribes mastered this process long ago, turning a harsh desert plant into dependable nourishment when other food sources dried up. And it didn't stop with the fruit. Banana yucca flowers were cooked and eaten like vegetables. The roots were crushed and used as soap. Even those stiff, pointed leaves served a purpose, woven into baskets and twisted into rope. Few plants offered so much from top to bottom. Today, these tough plants still grow across Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Texas, thriving in conditions that would wipe out most crops. Recently, creative cooks have started experimenting again with banana yucca, using the cooked fruit in specialty jams and desert-inspired sweets. Still, you're unlikely to spot it in a regular grocery aisle. Like it always has been, the fruit is best enjoyed straight from the wild. Number 9. Gooseberries and currants. Gooseberries appear in a variety of colors: green, yellow, red, and even purple. What about currants? These are smaller, growing in beautiful hanging clusters. And just like gooseberries, they come in several varieties, including red currants, white currants, and black currants. In the early 1900s, these tart little berries were everywhere. Red currants for jelly, black currants for preserves, and gooseberries for pies. Every farm wife had her favorite bush, and recipes were passed down through families like precious heirlooms. Then someone discovered that currants and gooseberries could host white pine blister rust, a fungus that was devastating the valuable timber forest. The lumber industry panicked. The government responded by banning the cultivation of these fruits across huge portions of the country. Just like that, generations of fruit-growing knowledge began to disappear. The ban lasted decades in many states. By the time restrictions eased in the 1960s and beyond, entire generations had grown up without ever tasting these berries. Bushes vanished from gardens, and the fruits survived mostly as forgotten names in old cookbooks. Nutritionally, black currants contain more vitamin C than oranges. Red currants are loaded with antioxidants. Gooseberries provide fiber, vitamin A, and beneficial plant compounds long valued in traditional remedies. The flavor? It is bold and unapologetic. Gooseberries range from pleasantly tart to intensely sour depending on variety and ripeness. Currants have a sharp, almost wine-like bite that wakes up your whole palate. They aren't sweet snack berries, but when you cook them into jams, pies, or sauces, they transform into something remarkable. Now they're making a quiet comeback. Modern gardeners appreciate that these bushes handle cold climates, tolerate partial shade, resist many pests, and produce reliably for years. Disease-resistant varieties are widely available, making them far easier to grow than in the past. Chefs are catching on too. Traditional desserts like gooseberry fool are reappearing on menus. Jam makers are creating preserves with a depth of flavor that feels completely different from the standard grape jelly that once dominated American tables. It's like rediscovering a whole category of fruit America once loved and almost forgot. Number 10. Elderberry. Let's end with a fruit that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. Elderberries grow wild across America, along country roads, forest edges, and hedgerows, places most people pass without a second glance. The bushes look a little rough, almost weedy, easy to ignore, but they shouldn't be. For thousands of years, elderberries have been used for food, medicine, and even natural dye. Indigenous communities relied on them. In Europe, they were a trusted remedy for colds and flu long before modern medicine. And now we know there was real science behind that tradition. Elderberries are rich in antioxidants, vitamin C, and plant compounds that may help reduce the length and severity of flu symptoms. Here's the important part. Raw elderberries are not safe to eat. The uncooked berries, especially the leaves, stems, and unripe fruit, contain compounds that can cause nausea and stomach distress. Eat them raw and you'll feel it. Cook them, though, and everything changes. Heat breaks down those harmful compounds, turning elderberries into something safe and flavorful. The most famous use? Elderberry syrup. Deep purple, slightly tart, rich and smooth, used both as a home remedy and a delicious addition to teas, desserts, even cocktails. And it's not just the berries. The creamy white elderflowers are edible too. They're fragrant and lightly sweet. In parts of Europe, elderflower cordial is a classic summer drink, and fried elderflower fritters are a traditional treat. As a plant, elderberry is tough and generous. It grows quickly, produces heavily, and doesn't demand much care. Give it a little space and basic pruning, and it rewards you year after year. Here's the surprising part. Those wild bushes growing near you are often the same species sold in nurseries. Cultivated varieties may produce bigger clusters, but the wild ones work just fine. People still forage them every fall, just like generations before them. The plant isn't disappearing. The knowledge is. The recipes, the safe preparation, the simple habit of noticing what grows around us. The bushes are still there, still fruiting, still waiting. Which of these fruits surprised you most? Let me know in the comment section. And if you're ready to grow some of these forgotten wonders in your own garden, hit subscribe so you don't miss future videos on ancient fruits that deserve a comeback.